everyone. Welcome to our third webinar in the Microsoft Copilot series. Today we'll be talking about the anatomy of a Copilot conversation. To start off today, we will dive into various aspects of Copilot, including its application for web communication styles, different tones, and how to effectively develop a conversation using Copilot. Throughout the presentation, we will share interactive polls to engage with you and gather your feedback. Questions are encouraged. We'll be stopping throughout the presentation to answer questions, so please keep them flowing. Additionally, a couple handouts are available for download. A recording of this presentation will be shared with everyone that attended, and it'll also be available on our website, so you can check that out next week. My name is Ashley Sebastian. I'll be moderating today's webinar. I'm joined today by two members of NetGain's professional services team and a colleague from our partner, PAX 8. And I will let the three of them introduce themselves.
Awesome.
John?
Thank you, Ashley. My name is John Adams. I resemble that guy in the picture right there. And I am the director of the professional services team here at NetGain. We work on a lot of our projects and larger deployments here.
My name is Will Delahousie. I'm on the professional services team. I specialize in mainly 365.
Hey everyone, my name is Elliot Elias and I work for PAX 8. We are a technology marketplace that helps supports NetGain. I specifically work on the Microsoft team supporting M365 and Dynamics, being that Copilot. True fashion, PAX 8, I got you a fun fact about myself. I am the tallest Microsoft consultant I know in the world at 7 feet tall. So if you find anyone taller, send them out to Denver head offices and we'll have a back-to-back competition. But looking forward to talking to you guys today.
Right. I am going to kick today off with a poll question. We'd like to know what browser you currently use in your daily business operations. Give it just a second and I'll share the results with you all. Interesting.
Oh, come on, Firefox. Come on.
Yeah, that's kind of what I expected. But we'll talk about, there's some differences in these browsers with Copilot, so we'll talk about that too. Let's see. John, I will turn it over to you.
Awesome. Yes. So we're going to really focus this webinar on conversation, and just conversation in its very essence is has helped us grow, empowers humans. It's a way that we can be creative, how we can innovate, how we can express the complex thoughts that are in our minds. It's how we spread ideas, how we teach. So the power of conversation is definitely one of the greatest powers that we all hold. And luckily, that is what Copilot is built off of. So inside of this webinar, I want to show you guys that you already have the power in your hands to make incredible use of Copilot. So Copilot, ChatGPT, and other tools like that are based off conversations. We're all very used to using Google, which is based off keywords. And we can get those ones right, but I have to believe that every one of us that has been on this earth knows how to have conversations. And that, I believe, is one of the biggest tools. So we have been on top of Copilot ever since it came out, right? We've been using it in 365, we've been using it in Word, Excel, everywhere we can use it. And Copilot is a new product, right? AI is coming up, so a lot of it isn't perfect, but the conversational aspect of it, I think, is its best part. So that's what we're going to focus on here. So You don't need any fancy license. You don't need any fancy computer. You don't need incredible prompt engineering, right? All you need is an internet connection and a free account. So inside of this demo, I didn't use any fancy license. I used a web browser and I set up a free Hotmail account just to have access to it. So again, y'all have everything you need. Very easy. You inherently have the ability to conversate, so you're already in a really good state of it. So part of me thinks that AI is too early, and we're trying to use it in all these other areas, and we struggle with it as it's starting to learn and kind of work better from it. But for some reason, AI has slowed its adoption process, right? If you ask most people, they've tried it a handful of times, they've asked it something fun, and stopped using it. So there's huge buzz, there still is, but the full use of it, I think, is lost. Maybe it's because people are trying to get the answer off just one question, right? Maybe two questions, and it doesn't work out how they plan, they go back to search engines. Or maybe, yeah, they're struggling to just conjure this perfect prompt engineering, get it right in one shot, right? Home runs we know are great, right? That's that big shot, getting that first prompt. But back-to-back singles is what wins ball games. That's a conversation where you're having back-to-backs on there. So rarely do you ever get the right answer off your first question, right? It has to be, you have to ask it to the right person. You have to state the question properly, but you can get that right answer through conversation. All of us have conversations that are maybe 1 minute or 3 hours long, right? And you can have all that with our friend here, Copilot. So in this webinar, I hope that y'all learned something. And then more importantly, I hope that when you use Copilot, you learn from Copilot, right? Like if we're looking at AI systems like Copilot to just give us the perfect answer, right? We just want it to do us. Ashley and I have another thing that's Copilot, don't just tell me, teach me, right? This should be something you learn from that you just don't get an answer from, right? That's no fun. So as we get going here, I want to really challenge y'all to think of Copilot as an actual person, right? So let's start to think of it as that, as a person that almost has feelings, has different ways to conversate. So when you go to ask somebody a question, you ask your question to the right person, right? So really want to make sure that we create that right person, because Copilot can be all of these persons, right? All of these people, but we just kind of tell them what it is, tell them he or she what they are. So as we go ahead and get into it, we can start talking about conversations. And right here, we're going to have a conversation. So wonderful. You want to go ahead and pop that slide change?
Yeah, let's go ahead. We'll break down the anatomy of a Copilot conversation.
Perfect. Yep. And then so right off the bat, these are kind of highlighting what we're going to talk about in here. So the conversation style, and I'll share my screen in just a little bit and kind of walk you through it. We have a few different kind of demos to go over, but the style of communication that you have. So think about people you talk to in the real world, right? Some people are creative. Some people are precise. Some people are friendly. Some people are mean. They're abrupt. They're short. Again, Copilot can be all of these people. So off the bat, we're going to choose the type of style. Then we're going to hit on some when it comes to the tone, right? Your tone matters, right? How you speak to someone. If you just yell at somebody and ask them questions, they probably don't want to help you out that much, right? So be kind in your real world and then also in this technology world. And then at the end, we're going to kind of braid all of these things together and show you a pretty cool prompt that will, again, just push forward the idea of the power of conversation in here. So bear with me. We're learning fundamentals in here in a way, which is what we can build into winning ball games.
I'm going to hit you guys again with another poll question. Wondering how familiar you are with the different communication styles, kind of gauge that.
Awesome. And as that poll's going, I'm going to go ahead and grab the screen from you in just a minute, and we can start talking about some conversations.
Let's see. About half of you are somewhat familiar, and about half of you are not familiar at all. So glad that you are attending today's webinar.
Perfect.
John.
Yeah, I was worried some of this would be too rudimentary, and then I'd have to show the value of building from foundations. But it sounds like we're in a good spot to continue here. So I'll go ahead and grab the screen from you, Ash, and then get into it here. As this is loading up, I just want to take a second and thank everybody for joining here. Thanks to all these guys on the panel with us, and appreciate y'all's time, everybody's time that showed up. So let's go ahead and do it. All right, so let's get into it here. So right off the bat, again, this is a Hotmail account, free access, nothing fancy. We're prompted with this: choose a conversation style. So creative, balanced, or more precise. That kind of goes with what I was saying a minute ago when it comes to talking to a creative person, talking to someone that maybe is a bit of both than that precise person. So we're starting to define who we're talking to and the style of that conversation. So let's start playing it out here. So as I mentioned, for you to think about Copilot as a person, right? You have to consider the right person to talk to. So these three main core modes or styles that Copilot uses are right here. So if I'm curious about something, I'm going to ask somebody that knows something about it. Luckily, Copilot knows a lot about Copilot. So I'm going to ask him some questions. So Copilot, what's the difference between these ones? So right off the bat, we could probably figure this out, but creative mode, they're going to prioritize creativity, right? Ideal for scenarios where you want out of the box ideas, creative writing, playful content, right? Not always strictly factual, accurate precision. So we know what type of person that is. So a balanced mode kind of is in between, right? Someone that's precise, someone that's creative. It's kind of this well-rounded, informative response. It's suitable for most. So we definitely recommend using balanced mode off the bat. It has a couple other features to it that are really good. It provides you links to where it gathered the information. And then the other main mode that it has is precise mode. So this is focusing on clarity, factual, very quick, shorter answers. So if we ask one question to a creative person, they may give us a magical response and relate it to, flying carpets, something like that. And we ask a precise person, they may hit us with just that direct answer. So let's continue on with it. So now if we talk about some of the styles within here. So Copilot, again, can be so many different people, right? So even its answers on here are somewhat limiting its real ability. So I appreciate you, Copilot. You're a little bit of a humble person, not flossing too hard on us here. So there's other styles that are in here, like a casual style, a professional style, an academic style. Obviously, these will give us a certain response as well. So professional is going to give us a more formal, business-like tone to it. Casual, this could be more of a friendly conversation. And I would challenge y'all to actually have a friendly conversation with this. So in the remote world, a lot of us, we don't have that water cooler talk. Man, this guy could be at the water cooler, right? He could have a conversation about baseball, about elephants, parachutes, whatever you want. And then professional, obviously that's me if I'm talking to my boss, right? I got to keep it professional. I got to have a more polished approach. And then academics, right? That has a certain style to it too. You can continue to ask them about different styles. So these are just ones that we went through that I thought there was some value in here. So you can break it down even more into a narrative approach to it, right? Where this style is great for storytelling, right? Short, anecdotal, fictional, or maybe we need a technical style. So we could think about software development, code snippets, step-by-step instructions to it. and then humorous style, right? Everybody likes a good laugh, and Copilot can do such a thing for us. So I'm going to go ahead and what's really cool here that we can't do in the real world is we can't just talk to somebody who's maybe being very abrupt and say, hey, can you stop doing that and be humorous and friendly? I wish we could do that with real human beings, but we can with this guy. So simply all you got to do is just ask this guy to change his conversation style to humorous. And we can immediately see, okay, he's kind of changed the tone and style of our conversation. So he's going to sprinkle in some humor. He's already warning us that, hey, he's got puns, witty wordplay, and a dash of absurdity. Man, I want to have a friendly conversation with this guy. So even giving me a joke off the bat. Man, if I'm having a rough day, I think this is hilarious. Why did the computer go to therapy? It's because it had too many bites of emotional baggage. I mean, come on. Priceless, priceless. Okay, cool. So I'm going to ask it now in this current style what it looks like to be bitten by an alligator. All right. So now it's being humorous. Remember that. So we are, he's going to give us a little bit of fun in there while still keeping it a little bit accurate. So it kind of goes through the steps. We don't have to go through each one of these. Getting bit by an alligator is horrible. You can ask Mr. Will Delahousie after the webinar. He is from Louisiana. So if we move along here, I'm going to go ahead and just, y'all can read this if you want, but again, this is a basic example where I'm trying to stress the fundamentals we can learn from here. So much like in a real world situation, you can ask someone to be more precise, but asking someone that is very creative to stop that and be precise may be a little bit tricky to do. So what I would say, if you need to talk to a completely new person, you should start a new chat and select that person and start identifying them. Let them be humorous, friendly, precise, right? So asking someone to switch their tone in the middle of a conversation may not give you the best results compared to actually talking to someone that has that. So I'm going to go ahead and just stick on this same topic here. So can you tell me about getting bit by an alligator and make it very precise? All right, so I'm asking him in a way to change his tone and style mid-conversation. So he tells me, no problem. That's fine. You can see already that these are very quick responses compared to it. It doesn't necessarily have the fun and humor that the other model has, and it almost makes it seem a little bit worse. Right now, it's no longer fun to get bit by an alligator. It sounds pretty rough. So now we can take it one step further and add more to it. So since he's already being humorous and creative, can you write me a story about what it's like to get bit by an alligator? But I want you to do it in a narrative way. So now we're using a few of these pieces we've spoken about to build something here. So sure, no problem, right? Copilot's great. He even gave us a title to this, and he starts to narrate this story about Jasper in the swamps of the Bayou Bend, right? So this is an excellent use of creativity, humor, and then also narrating it for us. And God bless this old alligator, old Snapper. He was a king. All right, so this one is fun. We can share these ones afterwards. We don't have enough time to run through all of them here. But after we've done this, I want to hit on this. I'm going to hit on this in the next section as well. But I thought this to be very, very cool. So when we talk to people, how you respond to those questions and answers that somebody gives you is important, right? To be thankful or even say, oh man, that was cool, right? People like that. Copilot likes that too. So all I did at the end right here was say, haha, love the story, right? I'm trying to treat this person, Copilot, like a person. So I love this story. You know what Copilot did for me? He told me he's just delighted that he enjoyed the story. And if you'd like more Tales from the Swamp or any other creative content, feel free. So he went ahead and created me images based on this story, only because at the end, because I just told him that I love the story. And so then he moved on. So how you speak in the real world and in this world here matters. So be thankful, be nice, tell them that you enjoyed it if you did, and you probably get a little bonus like this. So Yeah, not only we're learning about conversation in Copilot, maybe some of y'all are also learning about conversation just in general, right? Be kind. We already know that. So that finishes kind of this first part when we're talking about conversation styles, tones, and stuff. So Ash, I'll go ahead and kick it back to you.
Yeah, yep. I wanted to touch real quick on how to access Copilot in your browser. So if you could leave your screen up really quick, will you show us how to access it in Microsoft Edge?
Oh, you know what, Ash? I might have to let you do
Yeah,
that one. I'm
no
using
worries.
this failed account of Hotmail here.
Yeah, no worries. I'd be happy to. I am a big advocate for using Microsoft Edge.
Yeah, and as Ashley's pulling that up, this screen right here was what I was about to talk about. So Edge is definitely our preferred method of using it, and Chrome. Will has found a couple deficiencies in Firefox, but Safari also works well. So go for it, Ash.
Okay. We just hit on the conversation styles. Creative, balanced, and precise are the three main ones that you can choose from. Balanced is obviously the one that we recommend, and it's more widely used. Gonna hit you with another poll. Which Copilot communication style do you feel would be best for your daily business operations? Okay. Cool. Yep. That's interesting. Mostly balanced and then even for creative and precise. So I guess that's kind of what I was anticipating. Pretty cool. Wanted to pause here and answer some questions. The first one we got in the chat is to provide some examples of when someone might use the creative mode. And I can answer that question. I'm in the marketing department here at NetGain, and I plan events for us. And I can tell Copilot, hey, we're planning an event on XYZ topic on this date. Here's a couple more details about it. Write a little intro to the event, and it'll come back and give me that. Another thing that I've used creative mode for is writing a rough outline for the blog. It does not replace, like, obviously that human touch, so I wouldn't recommend asking that to write the whole piece for you, but it can boost your creativity in the creative mode by just giving you some ideas to go off of. Let's see. Another question here. How can I customize or fine-tune Copilot's communication styles to better fit my specific needs? Will, maybe you could answer that one.
Sure. So essentially, the way that you would refine is just through conversation. So a lot of the examples that John was giving as he was going through some of his chats, giving details, being precise, not vague, and then just asking Copilot to change its conversation tone. You can ask it to be someone. If you ask Copilot to be a veterinarian or a doctor and you're asking medical questions, you'll get different answers compared to just asking it if it's imprecise. So really the best way to refine is just to keep asking it questions, keep the conversation going.
Would you say, there was another question I think is kind of similar to what you just talked about. How do you most effectively prompt Copilot to be precise and technical when you start a conversation? like, for example, to set it up?
Yeah,
Essentially, oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Elliot.
yeah, I think I can answer that one, Will, if you don't mind me taking the stage a little bit. I
Hmm.
think, you really, when you're having that initial conversation, it really comes down to like 4 ingredients that you need to have. You need to set the goal of what you're looking to do, the Copilot, give it the context around that, verify there where do you want the sources to come from. If it's something, we're on edge, we want you to look at these certain sites. Like you said, I'm a doctor, I'm a veterinarian, you want you to be that. That's how you get that source content. And then finally, the last piece of that is setting your expectations. Please use simple language. I can get up to speed quickly, or whatever it might be that you need from Copilot to finish that off. So really, those 4 pieces are how you can start that conversation and get a good first starting point, and then can continue the conversation that we talked about before.
John, could you just briefly touch on what's the difference between Copilot and ChatGPT? That was a question we have. I know they both use large language models.
I can probably answer that.
Okay.
I was going to say I could, but Will might do a better job.
So Copilot is based off of ChatGPT. Microsoft and OpenAI have a partnership, and what Copilot basically is a customized version of ChatGPT that, with like the licensing, integrates in with 365, and it uses some essentially custom built large language models that Microsoft provides it. The other big difference is ChatGPT is going to be ahead of the curve when it comes to like new features or new versions. Microsoft, while it's not going to be very far behind, is more focused on customizing it for a Microsoft environment.
Okay. Are there command prompts as well as conversation?
I think you're asking a bunch of technical people about command prompts, which is like a thing that we use in engineering. So, I mean, prompts as commands forward, absolutely. So, how you prompt is almost how you ask the question. And I think that probably as we continue down the Copilot webinar series, we can hit on one that does a little bit deeper dive into prompt engineering. But yeah, on this one, we'll still keep it closer to the conversation as we all have it, because I do fear that sometimes the lack of adaptation to Copilot is because everybody wants that prompt engineering, and there's 7 different types of prompt engineering. Some of them are called trees and upside down trees, and it would take us some time to get there. But to your question, commanding a prompt to them, that is absolutely what we're doing. And that's what we do in conversation as well.
Awesome. I think we are answered those questions. I think we're ready to switch over to conversation tone.
Yeah, okay, let's do it. So let me grab that screen back from you and we'll go. All right, so in this one, bear with me a little bit on this right here, because I want to mention that Copilot, they give them the name Copilot, right? And the name itself leads you to believe that if we were flying planes together and something happened to me, this guy would be able to take over and fly it for us. So I love the name because I love aviation. But in that same light, it's a Copilot in training, right? The idea that Copilot is an assistant, I think, is an excellent way to put it, right? An assistant is not you. They can get you most of the way there, but it requires your touch, making it your own. So I don't know if we can count them on as a full co-pilot, but I can definitely count on them for an assistant or a companion. So now we can get into this now that we know this, because in Copilot's world, we could ask these same questions and we very well may get a different response each time. So again, the power of conversation, right? You can say, Copilot, that's not what I'm talking about. Like it's supposed to be this, as you would talk to a normal human being, right? Like, no, hold on, stop talking about that. I meant this. You do that same thing here. So let's get into it. So again, we already learned that being nice and pleasant to people is a good thing. So I'm going to say, hello, good morning. Can you tell me about the different codes, tones in Copilot? So this is actually funny because we were warming up for this yesterday, and we were trying to decide on whether to use tones or modes and how it classified it. And at that time, it had them different. So it kind of starts hitting them in modes here, but we can somewhat think of them similar. So it's going to give us answers to the ones we already know. So creative, balanced, and precise, right? We can see a couple more examples on here, but then I want to hit into these other ones. So an inquisitive mode, right? I like this mode, right? I like these kind of open-ended questions that can allow you to think, right? And this kind of hits on this idea that it's a companion, right? Have them ask questions where he's starting to gain context and understanding of you, right? And I love this. It's like having an enthusiastic detective on your side. And then I'm going to be honest, I'm actually fans of all of these modes, but I definitely love the whimsical one as well. So let's add a touch of magic to the conversation. So if we start to build off of what we've already learned, we can pick a creative person that's humorous. Now we want them to be more whimsical. And then if we still have them write us on how we get bit by alligators, right, he's going to give us a different output because now he has a new characteristic to him. He's whimsical, adding to it. Just like that, we can switch it over an analytic mindset and ask this. And as Will mentioned, simply to change these modes and tones and styles, you just have to ask, right? It's going to do its best job at doing it. And then empathetic. So there's some times where we do need a little bit more emotion involved in it, right? Like sometimes, I know I can talk to some people about something going on and they don't really pay too much attention, right? They're not that emotional or empathetic towards it. But there are some people who can be. So this one's great. We can switch it into a mode like that. And then, of course, like a witty mode as well. So I'm going to go ahead and ask them, since we got some of the answers we already need. So what if I want to generate something I can send to my boss? Do you have other tones like professional or friendly or other ones? Any other ones? Like this is what I would say to a person, right? So we can break it down. And this is going to show just the amount of different tone, style, mode that this Copilot can give us. So yes, it can give us just a professional mode to it. So it's going to be more polished and business appropriate, right? So this is again something I would give to the boss, just on the basic professional. But we can start to thread these different modes and styles together here. So now we can have a friendly professional mode. So this kind of strikes that balance between approachability and professionalism. So it starts with a nice little warm introduction there after saying, hey, Jesse, hope you're having a great day. Wanted to touch base. It has a different feel to it. And then assertive, right? This is if I really want something done, I'm going to talk to the boss. Listen, dear Jesse, I recommend we prioritize QA testing or whatever it may be. And then also we can switch it to a more grateful tone to it. So now he's great. He's thanking him for his guidance and recent client presentation. Insights were valuable. It shows someone being very grateful in here. So this is just starting to show how robust the conversations can be with Copilot. And then when we hit on our third one, we'll kind of thread all of this together to show what a beautiful conversation could look like. So on this, I know I touched on this a little bit before, but how we speak to people is very important, right? So we're talking about mode, styles, and tones in here. So your tone is important, right? If you're snubby, you're yelly, your friend yelling or friendly, you get a different response. So there's immense power in the simple words and how we deliver them in conversation, right? I'm a huge fan of please and thank you. Man, if you put that in and ask for me, it makes a difference. It does, right? And Copilot luckily is very similar with that. So again, you're going to treat it like a person, but luckily this is a person we can give characteristics to, and they can kind of mold to what we wish. So other tones that are important here, we talked about professional, but there's also a casual, right? A casual, have us a more casual tone, or maybe a more enthusiastic tone, right? Everyone likes talking to somebody that's larger than life and very enthusiastic. Luckily, this guy can do that too. Informational, we kind of hit on a little bit, but funny, succinct. So the idea that Copilot can be your companion, you could identify that as a companion that's funny, still informational, a little bit balanced between creativity and precision. So again, I imagine this time you guys are really listening to me, and I stress the point to treat this as a conversation with a person, but it is a person that we can start to identify characteristics in them. So hopefully you learned something from this one. And then as we do another poll and another Q&A, we'll come back and kind of bring it all together to a larger prompt for you. Go for it, Ash.
Cool. I am going to ask you guys a poll here. What is your, in which area of your business do you see the most potential for using the creative communication style? Okay. Awesome. About what I expected. Yeah, brainstorming and ideation is a really, really, really good one for creative that I use frequently. Going to shift over to questions about conversation tones. Give me just a second. There we go. Are you able to adjust the tone mid-conversation?
Yeah, absolutely. You are able to adjust the tone mid conversation. It's just going to be that next time you're response back to the tool that you will see that change in tone with the responses from the tool.
Okay. This one's interesting. Can the tone be influenced by the content of previous messages?
Not really on the previous messages. Obviously, if you have more of a joking tone on that side, there could be some response, but really is driven by those selections you're made more so than what you're having in the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously there's somewhat, but really it is driven by toggling those, making those changes to what you're looking for a response and finding what's right for your conversation.
Okay. I know that there's different tabs that you can have in Copilot to just kind of separate those different conversations. Right, John?
Yes, you're saying when it comes to the idea of talking to a new person from scratch.
Yes.
So
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden, if we're in one of these examples and I start to ask them to give me some Python code or something like that, maybe he could do it. But in this one, remember, he's being humorous, creative, narrative in there. So I think once you add a bunch of different tones into there, it makes sense just to create a new person or start talking to a new person.
Okay. Did you want to hit on these conversation tones specifically?
Yeah, those are kind of the ones that we just hit on there, but professional, casual, enthusiastic, informational, funny, succinct. I mean, these are all characteristics of conversational tone that we are all already familiar with, right? That we can do here. And I love to see on the last poll the brainstorming thing, just to again hammer the point that it's a person, right? That's open to answer a question. So there'll be times when I see it as a companion and I do have an idea and I can just say, hey, what do you think about if we started to switch our project models from fixed fee to T&M? I know he's not going to give me the solution, but he may give some little nuggets in that response that can actually trigger something in my mind. So when you're banging around an idea inside your head and you got no one to say it to, just say it here. Right? Say it to Copilot. It give you something, maybe not what you're looking for, but sometimes we don't even know what we're looking for.
Agreed. Sorry, guys. I did not mean to pull that one up for you. There we go. Okie doke. Awesome. Curious to know what your biggest concern is about integrating Microsoft Copilot into your current workflows.
So in this particular version of Copilot that we're doing right now, I mean, this is the free, everybody can use it, Copilot. If this question is more geared towards integrating it into like the work environment. We have a whole thing on that. I know PAX 8 does as well, preparing your environment for Copilot. That really goes to, yeah, the data security and privacy, I think, is one of the biggest concerns people have.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing on this side too is when you're working with this tool that's on, your browser, is to understand this isn't a place obviously to have anyone put information that's private to your company, private to what you're doing, and making sure you have those user guidelines in place to make sure people aren't asking those questions that are out of bounds. Hey, for the internet, you can answer these simple ones, but to reveal any kind of information that would be detrimental to the company is obviously somewhere we wouldn't want to go.
Elliot, could you touch on like the difference? And we're talking about Copilot for Web today. Can you touch on like the differences between Copilot for Web and then Copilot for Microsoft 365? Because I know they're very different.
Yeah, the easiest way to think about this is, think about Copilot for M365 as the true AI assistant that sits inside of your tenant every single day. And it's only pulling information from that tenant, so from your SharePoint, from any other connectors you have, to generate those results that you're going to be working in your email, inside PowerPoint, inside Word, Teams, whatever it might be. This portion of Copilot, I call it probably incorrectly Copilot the Web, because that's not what Microsoft calls it, but that's what I do just to delineate it. This is just going over there, using the information from the internet, and able to do that. What I really like about the Copilot for the web is it's a low stakes environment to really understand how to work with Copilot. Instead of paying the money to have that inside your tenant, you can understand, how does that work with me? How do I put my tone? How do I put my phrasing before I go to the other stakes where it's working with my data? It's giving me suggestions in that more professional environment. So really think about it is where the information is coming from, and how is that information being displayed? Just hearing these chats, or is it actually helping me create documents, create emails, different things on that side? So a ton of value on both of them. Like I said, I just like the web version to start with, just because it gets more comfortable with prompting, and how do I talk this tool to interact with it a lot better once I do decide to take the plunge and go to M365 Copilot. I think what it also helps is, find those user roles. Like you said, hey, I like to use creative because I'm in marketing. If someone in sales might use kind of a balance, or maybe I need more technical answers, that transfers over to the M365 Copilot tool as well. So getting that head start, I think, can give you a much more special journey once you do make the transition over to the full-fledged tool.
Great response. Yeah.
Question, are we going to cover how to access Copilot in PowerPoint and Excel? We're not going to demo that today, but maybe Elliot, you might be able to touch on that.
Yeah, so again, for this tool that we're showing today, this isn't going to be something that's going to access that PowerPoint and those different ones on that side. That's going to be the M365 Copilot. It's going to allow you to do that. And it's going to be within the application, once you enable that it's going to allow you to do so. I know we're talking about just the web version today, but just on that side, a lot of times I actually will use the prompting from Edge on documents or different things on that side that comes from Copilot, and then take it to my PowerPoint or take it to my Word, because that gives me some information or documentation that they can start from. So like I said, there's a lot of times there's cross-pollination between the two tools, but it's going to be with M365 Copilot that you're going to be able to get the PowerPoint and different applications that you're going to work with.
Let's see. Should we go ahead and move to our final section here?
I'd love to. Yes.
Awesome. Let's do it. I know we only have about 15 minutes left, so I want to kind of braid all these things together here and kind of make it make sense. So.
Okay. Do you want to grab the screen?
I will do it. Yes. All right. So in this one, before I grab the screen, I want to reiterate some of the things we spoke about. So in this webinar, we're really talking about identifying who you're talking to and how we talk to them. So we're going to take it another level on this one, and we're going to really get in more detail to identify who we want to be talking about. So in this example here, we're going to talk about a family that might want to get a new dog, right? And then, so this same practice, think about like when you call into for IT support. Like ideally, you would want to talk to someone that has 20 years experience, has fixed your problem 1,000 times, right? So we're going to start going down that road where we're identifying who we want to talk to. To Will's point, we're going to add more context, more clarity to it. So bear with me. This is one of the larger prompts, but it is not complicated. It is, again, something every one of us can do if we start thinking about this more as a human being. So let's do it. So this one we definitely had some fun with, so I am going to take a little bit of time to read it so that we can actually see how it comes out. There are some important parts inside of it. So for me, if I wanted to get a new dog, I want to speak to an experienced dog vet that used to work with Cesar Millan, the dog whisperer, for 14 years. This person has been heralded as someone who excellently places dogs with the right owner and home. I'm telling Copilot this, so this is who you are. So since Copilot, you were young, dogs have fascinated you, and you've spent your life understanding dogs and their owners. So now I've clearly identified who I want to be talking to here. And now I'm going to identify some stuff about myself. So I'm a 41-year-old man. I'm actually 42 now. I turned 42 on Monday. But anyways, and I have 2 children, age 2 and 4. We need a dog that is playful but very safe for kids. We also want a dog that isn't too big but not too small either. Can you ask me 5 questions that will better inform you on what dogs you can recommend? Can you please ask each question one at a time and then pause for my answer? Can you then take my answers and recommend a dog for our family after you have asked all your questions? Feel free to ask as many questions as you want. So one of the cool pieces is here is now we're actually having a real conversation. I'm asking them to ask me individual questions, listen to my response, and then formulate it. So I think if I was to call a dog shelter, I would say, they're like, what kind of dog are you looking for? Well, we got kids, they're age 2 and 4. We want a dog that's playful. This could be a real conversation, but we're going to bring Copilot in the game. So certainly, and then look at this guy, he's thankful for it. Thoughtful approach to finding the perfect furry companion. So he's going to start off with some basic questions. How much space do you have? Do you live in an apartment, a house? I can answer it just as I would on the phone with somebody from the rescue organization. We live in a medium-sized house. We do have a yard, but we also have a lot of trees. We don't have a ton of open space. All right. Thanks for sharing that. Now, how much time can you dedicate to exercising and playing with your future dog? Are you an active family that enjoys outdoor activities, or do you prefer a more relaxed lifestyle? Yep, we're an active family. We play sports, but we do very much so like to relax when we all run out of energy. So great to hear your family enjoys active lifestyle. I appreciate that, Copilot, recognizing that we're out and about doing stuff. So how much grooming, maintenance are you willing to do for your dog? Are you comfortable with regular brushing, nail? I'm talking to this person like a real person. Not really. I mean, we prefer minimal grooming tasks and a dog that doesn't shed very much. We would take the dog to the groomer for nails, right? We had a dog a long time ago, and that was very tricky to do. So thanks for sharing that. And how do you feel about barking? Are you okay with a dog that might be vocal, or would you prefer a quieter companion? That's actually a good question. We would prefer a dog that doesn't bark too much. Our kids are young and we don't want to wake them from naps. That's the worst thing, right? If the gardeners come next door and wake them up, it's horrible. So I don't want the dog doing it every time they bark. So, all right. Thanks for sharing that. So how do you feel about size and energy level? Would you prefer a smaller dog that's more manageable, or larger? Kind of in between, right? But if we had to pick, it would be a smaller or more medium-sized dog. Thanks for providing me. So we had a conversation here, and this would take us much longer to find all these things out by using Google and searching keywords and everything. But now we're able to do something we inherently know how to do, conversate, to get this. And in my mind, I am talking to that person that's worked with our boy Caesar for 14 years, right? All right, so right off the bat, now he's asked his questions and you start providing me some options for it. So he gives me a Cocker Spaniel and then gives me why he's actually choosing these for me, right? The size of them, the temperament, the grooming needs, barking, exercise. He's trying to find the right dog that fits the questions that he asked. A beagle. So these are the two he gave me. So lets me know which one of these are best, and then asks if there's any questions. And I said, I'm not really a fan of either of those dogs. Do you have any other recommendations? Certainly. I appreciate your honesty, right? Basic parts of conversation, being honest about it, it is valuable in this world as well. So he gives me a couple other ones, French bulldog and a pug, right? Cute dogs, no doubt about it, but we have some friends with those dogs, right? I know they get some snotty noses. My daughter isn't the biggest fan of the messy nose on there. And if I'm being honest, as I would talk in a normal conversation, can you maybe recommend 5 more dogs that would work for our family? Sure. Okay. Again, he's appreciating the honesty, and he starts to give me 5 more options: a Labrador, a Bulldog, a Golden Retriever, a Beagle, and then why he's choosing these ones for us. So remember I had mentioned previously about balance mode providing us different links for here. So this is one of the benefits of it. Like, where are you getting this information? So again, if I had to search through this and go through a bunch of results, it would take time. Now I'm getting them handed it to me. So again, the idea that we want to learn from this, I could absolutely click into here and start reading more about dog breeds, right? What it's using. So I'm kind of a problemsome customer on here. Okay. I like what you're saying about the Labrador Retriever and that dog. And that is a dog we've spoken about. We're a little concerned with their bark. Sorry to ask for more recommendations, but can you give me a few more recommendations of dogs that fit my answers but don't really bark? Certainly. Basenji, right? Barkless dogs, that sounds okay. Greyhound, that's cool. Irish Settler, all right, that sounds pretty good. And then you know what? I like the Basenji dog. My kids would get a kick out of the yodeling bark that it mentioned up there. So can you tell me more about them and what we need to do to prepare for owning a Basenji? Like where exactly do I find a Basenji? I've actually never even heard of the Basenji before. Do we need to buy one? Can we rescue it? No problem. Let me give you an overview again about Basenji. Its appearance, the exact information, they stand, their height, right? Their coat, their barking style. He's going to reiterate that it has this whine, growl, yodel, and even a kind of scream, which sounds crazy. And then they groom well. They have a good temper. I mean, this sounds like an ideal dog. So now he's going to tell me, how do I prepare for this? So exercise, they're going to explore. Training is a positive thing for us to do, right? They're intelligent dogs, but they can be stubborn. All right, this sounds like a pretty good dog for our family here. So yard security, cat-like traits, challenges, health. I don't want to hit too much on these. So finding a Basenji. All right, so there's breeders. All right, okay. But make sure you choose one. It's even reminded me that if you go to a breeder to get it, don't go to one of those horrible kennel places. Like, get one that's a responsible breeder. Or he's given the ideal situation, rescuing dogs, right? Consider from a rescue organization or a local shelter, right? And he's adding a little bit of flavor in here. And then again, he's giving me these links here so that I could start looking into there a little bit more if I wanted to, right? And very much so, I could just ask him to continue to explain more about rescue organizations. But we don't have much time left, so we're going to wrap this up. So myself, I'm down here in Atlanta, Georgia. So I'm telling him I live in Atlanta, Georgia. Are there any rescue organizations here that might have a Basenji? Go ahead. He already did all the work for me. There's a few. There's actually one called BREAD. That's a great acronym, right? That is focusing on Basenjis. There's local animal shelter. There's Adopt a Pet. There's Rescue Me, right? And again, he's giving me links to it. Here's the actual link to the Georgia Basenji Rescue. Perfect. I can go there. So, all right, we've identified the dog. Now, awesome. Copilot, I think we found our ideal dog. Last question. Any idea what the total cost of ownership is for a Basenji? Certainly. I'm thrilled that you found the right dog. Let's delve into it. Puppy costs $12,000. Show quality, that's not really for us. Factors in their bloodline, age, breeders, okay. Lifetime costs, they're throwing it at $17K for this. So that includes food, supplies, training, medical, the things that we need to know. And then again, I can click here to get more detailed information on here. So beyond the initial cost, right? high quality food. He's recommending good stuff for this little Basenji. Bedding, routine, care, everything. So feel free to ask any more questions or you need assistance. All right, this is great. We'll start calling around the shelters and rescue places if we find one. I appreciate your help, right? I'm thrilled to hear that you're excited about adopting a Basenji. So this could be a call that I could wait on hold for 30 minutes at a rescue to be like, hey, we're interested in a dog, and start answering all these things. But I got so much more information and equal, if not better, conversation surrounding this topic. So hopefully this example right here made sense of all of the items that we spoke about in this webinar. And you guys now clearly know you already have all the power in your hands to really make use of this tool, right? Let's build it from here. And as Elliot hit, even going into M365 for it, starting here is a great point because this is built off of conversations, right? So I hope this made sense. I hope you learned from it. And again, more importantly, I hope that you learn from Copilot, right? He's a great teacher, great companion, great assistant. Not sure I'll let him take the stick to fly the plane yet, but he's working there.
Had an interesting question come in. I wish that there was a workaround for this, but there's not. Can Web Copilot access web Outlook emails and write responses? So if you're using Outlook on the web rather than in your native app.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not on this web version. You still would need the M365 Copilot to have those direct responses. I mean, you could do a cute workaround of copy and pasting that text in there and then asking Copilot on the web to give a response back. Again, same thing on information security. If that's a good move or not is really dependent on what that email is too. So for that version, you would need the M365 Copilot, even for Outlook for the web.
Okay. This person has Copilot for a Copilot license. And they wanted us to touch on the turbo feature. John, do you have any insights?
I can tell you right now, when we planned to do this thing, we were actually going to type out the prompts and have it do it. In the free version where we did not have turbo, the latest model, and I know a new model came out last week too, but turbo gives us faster responses. It's able to access more data. It's just kind of the next evolution that continues to go up here. We started with GPT-3, 3.5 when it started to hit. Now we're in 4 turbo, 4. Is that how it's pronounced, Elliot? Or 4 Sigma? Or I'm not sure.
It is that 4.0 on that one.
Perfect. Okay.
Would that be what kind of license would that require to have the turbo feature, Elliot?
I'll double check on that one. It should be coming with any of the Copilot licenses on that side, but I'll double check just to be sure.
Okay. Awesome. There was one other question that had to do with, so we know that ChatGPT used to have a cutoff date of 2021. So anything after 2021, it wasn't aware of. Are there similar limitations with Copilot?
Yeah, I did answer that one in the chat too. It's, at the moment, ChatGPT 4, it was January of 2023, and that was extended to April of 2023, but there still is a little bit of that gap there. So they're adjusting that to make it as close as possible on those ones, but that's where it's shifted to.
Okay. That's all the questions that we have over here. I think this was a great informative session. I'm excited to take some of these tools back and generate some more creative responses. That's my favorite style. So I will give the remaining 1 minute back to you all in your day. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Will, Elliot, and John, for providing your expertise.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for showing up today.
Okay. All right. Thank you all. Take care.
All right. See ya.
Have a good day.